Welcome to Just So Sewing. So today I am going to do a tutorial on how to do the Iris board shorts from Samantha Marie Design, and these are one of my favorites. You can use them with actual board short material or you can use them with swim. I'm using them with swim today, and I am doing a little hack. I don't use their liner for my boys. I use the basic line shorts liner from Lowland Kids. They prefer like the boxer brief type of liner, so I stole the liner off it and I will use it in this. Now for my girls I do use the Iris liner and she loves it. So let's get started. First of all, we have our elastic. This is 18 inches for 2T. I would highly suggest measuring your child is the best way obviously to do it, but so far most of my kids, whatever size they fit in, the elastic fits great. So I haven't really, I skip that because I do have their measurements, but and usually I check the guide before I go and go. Okay, for the liner on the basic line shorts, there will be a roomy gusset. This is the boys version. They have a flat gusset that you can use for girls on that as well. Then there's the back gusset, and then the two side pieces, and you cut those on opposites obviously. So two side pieces. Now for the Iris swim shorts themselves, or board shorts, they're very simple. We have just our waistband piece, our back pieces cut on opposites, and our front pieces cut on opposites. So I am going to start by, I guess I'll work on my liner real quick. To do that, you, let me adjust this down so you can see. So you take your lining piece and you fold it in half. And then you just, let me scoot that back, you sew this little middle seam. And you'll do that on both pieces. There's a front and to the back to the gusset on the front for the boys. So I'm gonna sew those together. Okay, our gusset pieces are sewn together now. So what we're actually going to do next is we are going to take one of our side liners. I have one right here. And on the shorter side here, you are going to sew one liner right sides together there, the other liner right sides together on the back of that piece. And that way when you flip them in, actually, I said that wrong. Oh no, I had it wrong. Yep, right sides together. I had this piece wrong. So when you flip them together in the center, the piece for the seam we first sewed will be on the inside. So I'm going to go ahead and sew those to both, and then you do the same with the opposite side. So I'm going to sew those both to both sides. Okay, so here's your front. So I think you really could have just done where they're both on the front side, because see, now we have an opposite seam. I'm sure there's a way I could probably get that seam on the inside. We'll figure it out. I'm pretty sure the rest of mine look like this on both sides. I just did not think about that, but that's okay. The next thing you're gonna do is take your back gusset piece and you're gonna line it up with the opposite side. And you're gonna go right sides together and just sew here, and then do the same for the other side. Okay, now we have the front gusset and back gusset completed, and we need to sew our inseam here. So just match up your two gussets and sew across there. Okay, our liner is complete. So we are done with that. So now we are going to, I like to do the front piece and the back piece that might match up. I'm going to sew the crotch seam here, the inseam there, and then the side seam here. And I'll do that on both of them. Okay, finish that. Now I'm going to turn this right side out and leave the other one inside out, and you are just going to put the one that's right side out inside here, and we're going to match these up. Find a clip, and then you are just going to sew along your crotch seam. And you've been filling this hole. Okay, we have finished that. So now we need to do our waistband, and we are just going to go ahead and you fold this in half and you sew a clot along this side seam. Since you were born. Okay, we are going to fold this in half lengthwise here, and we are just going to start from our side seam and find our halfway point. Goodness, hitting everything. Okay, and then we're going to match that halfway point up back with our side seam and find our quarter point for that. Find the other quarter point. Let's put that up. Anyways, okay, so now we're in our, we are going to take our liner. It's called a liner. And so what I do is I just match the seams to the two gussets up and find the midpoint of those at both front and back. And that'll be your front and back midpoint. And then I line those up and find my quarter points on the side. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now I'm gonna stick my liner, and you're gonna find your front and back of your board shorts, and stick your liner in there, and then find the front quarter point and put that. Now these will be face out. Both of them will be facing just like they would be if you were wearing them. And our next quarter point, and then our last one here. Okay. You can go ahead and baste those together if you want. I don't take the time. Surprise. Next, what you're going to do is you're going to find your back seam. It's very important on this part that if you have directional fabric, remember to check and make sure when you turn it up, it's going to be the correct way. I don't know how many times I get to flying through a project and I'm using directional fabric, and I get done and I have sewn it on upside down. So frustrating. Also, with my kids' clothes, there's a few times I've left it because some days you ain't got time for that. Okay, so now we're ready to sew our band on the outside, and your pants and your liner are facing the way they would if you were wearing them. And your band, you got to make sure that when you flip it up, airplanes are still the right way. Now on this, remember to leave a 2-inch gap. I usually start on the back seam where our seam on this is, and I just go over the seam, and then I stop about 2 inches from it, because you've got to thread your elastic through. And if you are a bedding person, 9 times out of 10, you can bet I am going to forget and have to seam rip that little bit. So I'm going to sew this and leave the gap, and we'll get the elastic threaded through. I didn't bet you because, yes, you didn't leave a gap. So I just go ahead and make my gap. So I just go ahead and make a gap because you'll sew over the edge of it anyway when you go back over that. So you're not going to hurt it seam ripping just a slight bit of it here to fix it. Man, you know, someday I am going to remember that part. Instead, I was sitting there thinking I should have quartered the outside one a little better instead of just using the seam points, because they are not equal, and it did hate its life. As I was pulling it, I did adjust a little so that it wouldn't, myself, but I was mad at myself for not going ahead and quartering it. So now let me find one of my clothespins. I don't think I have any of my elastic threaders out. So how I thread elastic is I do a little combined method. I use the clothespin method along with my elastic threader. My elastic threaders hate me and don't like to stay on the elastic, and I don't like to re-pull it out and redo it. So they do stay in between my clothespins. So I use my clothespin for a shear lock on that. And then I use my threader with it. So just stick it down in there and I will thread this all the way around. Okay, we are through. Always go through and try to check that it is all facing the same way. If not, just do what I do and sew it together and pull it through, and then realize it's twisted and seam rip and try again. Can you see I have a pattern here? Okay, I'm just gonna zigzag stitch these two ends together, and then we'll close the hole on the shorts. And I'll do anything to be your love, be a sacrifice. Okay, we got these. Last but not least, I just need to hem my bottom. I do not tend to top stitch these. I like them how they are. There's some patterns that I will top stitch, but I just think these look adorable. So I'm gonna get these hemmed and we will be done. And just like that, we are done with another sewing tutorial. I love the Iris shorts. My oldest son wears them all the time. They can be made in board short or swim shorts. That was the shorter cut line, the mid-thigh, as compared to the knee length, which I usually make my older son. When they're smaller, I'll usually end up making them shorter, because if not, they go like halfway down their calves. Because my youngest is shorter than my older two. But anyways, thank you again for joining me. I know I get kind of lengthy on these, and I, talk you through my mistakes, because as sewists, we tend to show everybody our pretty makes and the perfect ways we sew, and we forget that sewing is a lot of seam ripping, is a lot of mistakes and a lot of learning. But sewing is about doing things your way and enjoying it and having a fun time. So I hope you enjoyed this and join me again. Thank you for joining me on Just Sew Sewing.